Hello, Sue here again. Today's episode is going to be focusing on a Christmas card because it's never too early to get started on them. I've decided to do something that's a little bit different, color-wise, not so traditional, but I think it'll still get you in that festive mood. The products that we'll be using include the Spellbinders Creative Flake 3 set, Spellbinders 2011 Snowflake Pendant, and the 2012 Snowflake Pendant, because I want to show you how well they layer up together. We're also going to be using the Holiday Magic Embossability. This is a double-sided embossing folder. It's a beautiful design. We're going to use this on our background. And a couple of the stamp sets from Creative Expressions. Now these are my favorite Christmas type stamps. This is Snowflake and Sprigs. And this one is called Beaded Elements. And although it's not a Christmas one, I'll show you how you can use it with your Christmas elements and it looks beautiful. Right, let's tuck in. I think I'm going to start with the embossing first. So I've got the Spellbinders Holiday Magic Embossability, and it's got two sides on it, but for this card we're going to use this side here. And it's a little bit more, it's kind of a swirly pattern, right? Now I'm going to do a very large piece, and it's not all going to fit through the folder in one pass. So I'll show you how you can do this. But let's start with this side, and we're going to just tape it into place, line it up, put a little bit of removable tape there. I'm going to close this down and put it on my base plate. We use the raspberry adapter plate. Now there's no tan mat for this, it's important to note. I'm going to run this through the grand caliber and do the first half. Now one of the things about extending your embossing folders is it's really easy to do when it's a geometric pattern and you can just line it up and slot it up and move it forward. This one, however, is what I call an organic pattern. So it's going to take a little bit more effort, but I think it's worth it. So let me show you how we're going to do this. I've got almost a distinct line here, but I kind of want to camouflage that as best I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it right to the very edge where it was embossed to, tape it into place, fold the folder shut, and then I'm going to put it right to the very edge of that base plate. In fact, just ever so slightly hanging off. And then I'm going to put my raspberry plate on top of that. Now, by doing it this way, I'm hoping to minimize that line that we'll get, and because the pattern's very busy, I don't think you're going to see the join. This is also the kind of pattern that if you do end up having a line there from your pattern, put a piece of ribbon there. It's a great way to camouflage it. Okay, let's take it apart and take off our tape gently, and let's see. Now I'd say that if you look real hard you might be able to see that, but at a glance I think it would be perfectly fine, and we are going to put a topper on there so you probably won't see that at all. Let's go ahead and put it onto our background and then we'll work forward from there. I've got some mounting foam, so let me just remove the backing pieces here. And we'll get it put into place. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to set it aside for now, and we are going to do some stamping. Right, so I've taken one of the large, in fact, I think it's the largest element on the Beaded Element stamp set from Creative Expressions. I really like this swirl. I just think it's so pretty. So I'm going to use the Clear Perfect Medium, which is an embossing ink, and you've seen me use this many times. I'm going to ink this up, and just by tapping over it, all over, I get a nice coverage. Okay? I'm going to turn it, and let's just kind of go across the card a little bit. I'm going to seat my snowflake right about here, so I want it to look like it's coming from that area. Give it a good push. And run your thumb over the top of it in all the areas. And we'll take that away. And I'm going to use the white embossing powder for this one. This is the Cosmic Shimmer True White embossing powder. I'm going to use a piece of copy paper there. And I've got just a little smudge there and there. Let me just wipe that away. There we go. That looks nice. Now let me pour this back and we will heat emboss that. All right. So it just takes a few seconds for your heat tool to warm up and it'll melt that powder. You can see it moving along. Now, even though it's white on white, it's going to pop off the page in a few seconds. When we get this all stamped, I'll show you. All right, so I'm going to use that one once, but I'm going to add in some snowflakes too. Let's do this one from the Snowflake and Sprigs. It's a little more detailed of a snowflake, and I'm going to stamp it around a couple times, and we'll use a different embossing powder on it. Let's put one right about there. Re-ink it each time. And let's put one right about there. And we'll do one more. Put one down here. There we go. Set this one aside for a second. And the Aurora Sparkle is the one we're going to use next. Now this embossing powder has little bits of an iridescent glitter in it, so it's going to give a completely different look to it. So let's cover them. Whereas your white is just a matte, this has got a real nice sparkle to it. Okay. Set that aside for a moment. And we'll heat it. You can really see the glitter in that embossing powder catch. So the snowflake has more of a transparent look to it than the swirl does, but it's going to give a beautiful texture on your background. And I think I'll add just a couple of these in a different color too. We'll go back to the white, in fact, but now I have an idea where I want to put them, so I can just give a little bit more of an offset look here. And we'll do 3 of these. And then go back to the white. So you can actually stamp it as much or as little as you like. It's all down to your personal preference, but I just like to have a little bit of a variety in the background. Let's do this one. Okay, set that to the side. So I've got a little bit of both colors in the smaller snowflakes, and then the white beaded swirl coming off of there is more of a focal element on the background. Okay, so now we've created some embossed images here. We're going to use some inks and the embossing will act as a resist. So I think, let's start out with the lightest color. I'm using the Adirondack Aqua, which is a water-based ink, and I'm just going to use it with a little bit of cut and dry foam. And I'm going to work from my craft mat and just add color here. You can really see that swirl starting to pop out now. And I'm just going to kind of give a light coating all the way around my card. turn it. Working from the edge of the craft mat, I'm just going to sponge in a circular motion. There, so now you're starting to see those images pop out a bit more. But I want to add a little bit more variety to it. So we're going to go into the Distress ink called Peacock Feathers. Now this one's one of the latest additions to the Distress ink line, and I love this color. Absolutely beautiful. So we'll just add bits around here and there. Kind of blend it. In fact, we can even go back to our lighter ink and use that to blend a little bit more. And I think just a touch of green to it will be pretty. So I'm going to add some of the Forest Moss Distress ink to it. Real light, maybe on the edges. Maybe down here, just to give a little bit of a contrast. There we go. Now, another thing you can do when you're doing your double resist technique is you can use a squirt bottle with some water. And this is very effective, I think, on Christmas cards, things with snowflakes, that sort of thing. And you can put a couple of squirts of water in your hand and clap it over that. Okay. Now, because that's a water-based ink, what happens is you let it sit for a second and then take a piece of kitchen roll and you can blot it, and it will remove the ink in those places. So it gives you an interesting look to your background. Can you see the dotty areas showing up now? And that's a personal preference. You can do it more, you can do it a couple times if you really want that look to come out. Totally up to you. You can also squirt water on one of your stamps, and you can go in and you can stamp it. Squirt it again, stamp it again, let it sit for a second, take another piece of kitchen roll, and that will remove the ink in that design. So you'll have a watermark look coming through. And the longer you leave that, the more you'll get. So you can kind of sort of see it. It's very, very faint there. But that gives a really, really pretty background. So it's up to you if you want to add a little bit more ink to it at this point. You can take and go back through. We can edge it. In fact, let's use a deeper color. Let's go back to the Peacock Feathers. And we'll go around the edge with that and really get a highlight. And just working in a circular motion from your craft mat, you can see how it just picks up the edge there. It nicely frames that image in. I like that. That's looking nice. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've created a white mat for it, so the colors will really pop off of that. So let me just use a little bit of double-sided tape. We'll get this all prepared. And we'll put it onto our mat. Now the other thing is when you're doing a lot of techniques that involve water, sometimes it's a good idea to put that piece under a book to make sure it lays out nice and flat. So I have a little bit of wrinkling in mine, and that's probably what I would do on my own card at home, but for the demo we'll just do it this way. So I'm just going to layer this up. And I do have a little bit of ink on my hands. Let's just grab a Rime Boss and tidy up so I don't get that all over our white card. These have an abrasive side to them, so it'll take off the ink off your fingers really nicely and cleanly. That's better. And you can even leave that aside and use it later on because it will stay nice and damp for a long time. Okay. So now we'll go back to our original card here and we'll pop this on top. And I've got a little bit of mounting foam on the back just to raise it up because I do like a lot of dimension on my cards. I always think that if you can get some dimension and texture on your cards, nice color and balance, you've made a beautiful card. To me, that's the perfect card. So we'll pop that on there. Let's go that direction. Okay, and ahead of time, I went ahead and cut some of the snowflake pendants that I showed you in the beginning of the hour. We'll layer these up, and I'm going to use this snowflake on the bottom, and I've added a little bit of mounting foam, and we'll just put this one on top, and a third one with a tiny little guy in the center there, and a pearl right in the middle, because I think that'll make a really pretty snowflake. It's nice with that Creative Flake set. You can mix and match all the different pieces and create as many snowflakes as you like. No snowflakes are alike, so you've got the dies to do that job for you. So we'll pop this one up in the corner here, just so it looks like it's got the swirl peeking out from it. And I think to finish up, let's put a little bit of a swirl on there too. I've got some of the pearl swirls, and I've just cut a little piece here. And let's just take this off. I find it's easiest if I do it so I've got the tiny bit of it, and I know where I want to put it. Pop that down into place, and then I can raise it up and peel it backwards from there off the acetate. Let's see, let me get that started again. There we go. And if you find you have any kind of difficulties with these, if you cut them into sections, it makes it easy too. There we go. Just kind of let it fall. And you can pick it up and position it. Oops. This guy's being a little fiddly. There we go. We'll have the tip of that just sorting down underneath our snowflake. Really, really nice. And to finish it off, I think what I'll do is a couple little pearls right down in this corner. Maybe 3 little flat back pearls. And let's use some scissors. I usually will glue my pearls into place, even though they are adhesive on the back, because there's not a lot of area there, so the adhesive isn't what I'd call super strong. So if you put a little bit of Cosmic Shimmer glue down, they're certain to stay. There we go. There you have it. I think that's a lovely Christmas card. Not traditional colors, but I think it's beautiful nonetheless. So you can change it, take it, use pieces of it, do it completely the same if you like, but you've got some ideas to go forward with your Christmas card making. I hope you've enjoyed this.